From trains destroying vehicles in their way to tankers exploding in the middle of the road, join us as we have a look at 20 incidents with heavy loads that were caught on camera. Number 20. Karma in Mexico. In Mexico, a truck driver was not allowing a single car to overtake him on the highway. Nobody knows what the person behind the wheel was thinking, but a lot of cars were quite frustrated. Is he teasing the other drivers, or is he just being a pain to everyone around? A larger trailer then tries showing him who's boss and actually begins brawling on the highway. But the red one plays it smart and hits the brakes before things turn collateral. The white truck still doesn't allow anyone to pass, and it leaves the question, what was his problem? A much smaller car then tries to drive past him since the two of them were on opposite sides of the road, and who knows what the truck driver was on? Just look at how he had tried swerving to the opposite side to stop the SUV. That mistake's gonna leave both a mark and cause thousands of dollars in damages. Number 19. Train obliterates a flatbed. In Lee County, Alabama, dashcam footage shows a flatbed truck that's stuck on train tracks. The audio of the footage is muffled, so you don't really know what they're saying.
I gotta change the bed down here. Hey. Here come a damn train.
But by the looks of it, the driver is on the phone with somebody. In what looks like an emergency, this driver took around 20 seconds to hang up that phone, and when he finally does, it's simply too late. A train then comes smashing through the entire truck and sends it into shreds.
Do it.
The craziest thing is that the train that carries the flatbed looks completely unharmed. There's no derailment, no damages, and the vehicle hitching a ride on the train, on the other hand, let's just hope the poor guy made it out in time. Look at the sheer force of the train as it pulls away from the truck. Do you think that if the guy behind the dash cam had gotten out to help, the flatbed may have had a happier ending? Number 18. Amazon truck splits in half. Here's a different point of view of what happens when a truck slams into your vehicle. In a rare video captured by an Amazon delivery driver, we see how he escaped death by inches. You can't really tell what's going on outside the vehicle, but a few seconds into the clip, this driver begins panicking and shifting gears. The back of his truck is then blown out by an oncoming train, sending everything flying around. His life had changed in only moments because in one frame he's driving carefully, and in the next, his beanie and glasses get knocked off of his head. You look at the aftermath of the accident and how lucky the driver is, and to think that this was a lorry or a larger vehicle, but no. Amazon can try to get the man back to work all they want, but he's going to need at least a week to recover from what just happened. Number 17. A quick nap on the road. You've heard of drinking behind the wheel, but have you heard of sleeping behind the wheel? This man did not get enough sleep and thought it would be a great idea to drive a vehicle 20 times his size when he could barely keep his eyes open. From the footage, you can see that he's slowly dozing off while driving. He loses a bit of control for a brief moment and is more alert, and then he just couldn't stay focused on the road because in a matter of seconds all hell broke loose. Again, this footage shows what's going on in the driver's seat and not outside, so not much is revealed about the overall damage. But what you can assume is that the truck flips over, and the funniest part is that as soon as the driver's flipping left and right and the accident's over, the radio then turns on by itself. I bet this song is going to be his alarm clock from now on. He'll be awake before it even goes off. Number 16. Texas Trooper versus Semi-Truck. A routine accident checkup on a foggy highway in Texas turned into something so much more gruesome. Upon first glance, you would think that something would happen to one of the vehicles you're seeing. Maybe the SUV with the headlights loses control and slams into some other cars around it. But no, watch closely as a semi emerges out of nowhere, sliding all over the place. The massive truck crashes into not one, not two, but three cars and crushes the third one as it tips over. This Texas trooper pulled a matrix and switched the direction that he was running toward. The split-second decision is probably what had helped him to survive the fatal crash, because one wrong move and the white truck would have landed on him as well. The officer did suffer some injuries, but luckily survived the accident. The fog makes the whole thing look 10 times more dramatic. Number 15. Another train bites the dust. At this point, it's safe to say that trains are a truck's arch nemesis, because one wrong turn and you're stuck on some tracks, only for 4,000 tons of steel to come charging at you and destroy your vehicle. Sometimes the truck isn't even stuck on the tracks, it's actually a much more dumb reason. On State Route 47 in Ohio, a semi got stuck on the tracks. Are the tires jammed? Well, no. Are there any technical faults? Also no. If you look closely, the breakaway signal is stuck in the space in front of the trailer. Now the logical thing to do would be to hit reverse and just brake the thing. But this driver didn't want to vandalize anything and actually got out of the vehicle to see if anything could be done. To nobody's surprise, a massive train then smashes into the semi and destroys it into more pieces than a breakaway signal would have ever done. This is one of those rare moments where an accident could have been 100% avoided, and what would cost more, a tiny signal or a truck that literally costs hundreds of thousands of dollars? A hard reverse could have saved everyone a whole lot of money, time, and trouble, but to be fair, he did end up surviving and avoided any further issues that could have come with breaking the signal. Number 14. 5-in-1 collision. If there's one thing that any driver wants to avoid, it's an accident on the highway. If there was a list, getting hit by multiple vehicles would probably be on top. That pile up on the road is just one of the most discomforting and anxiety-inducing things to ever experience. Here we have the dash cam of a truck approaching a mosh pit of cars in a matter of moments. A hard brake on the highway is bound to give you trouble. 4 different cars are sliding left and right, bumpers are breaking, airbags are popping, tires are screeching, and the whole cherry on top, there's a massive semi heading in the direction to cause even more chaos. I mean, look at this SUV spinning a total of 180 degrees after being hit by a car from behind, only for a giant truck to be coming at you. How many of you would be saying your prayers then and there? Number 13. Truck slamming into the scene out of nowhere. If you thought that foggy video on a Texas highway was surprising, just wait until you see this. This dashcam footage released by the Nevada Highway Patrol looks pretty simple and safe, but the single car in front isn't even moving, and there's nothing to see miles away. So, what could actually go wrong? In less than a minute, this construction worker notices a vehicle approaching and stands in front with a stop sign. Does this usually work? Well, I guess we're about to find out. He realizes the incoming vehicle is not going to be stopping and begins running back and forth. And then in the next moment, that's when it happens. A red semi crashes into a pickup, sending debris and glass flying everywhere. The kicker, or in this case the crusher, there was another vehicle in front that we couldn't see. A Toyota Yaris had also fallen victim to the red semi that had ignored the crew workers' attempts at halting the oncoming vehicle. The 2 people in the Yaris lost their life that day, and reports don't confirm whether or not any charges were ever filed. Number 12. A tire causes havoc. On Chatsworth Freeway, an incident occurred that had a lot of people thinking it was a stunt that was being filmed for a Hollywood blockbuster. Pay close attention to the white pickup truck beside the semi. The front left wheel pops off out of nowhere and finds its target in the Kia Soul beside it. The rubber tire launches the vehicle up at least 15 feet in the air. To make things even worse, it looks like it wasn't done there. After rolling away from the scene of the crime, it manages to roll back to the Kia and give it one more hit in the rear. A classic example of one of those see it to believe it moments, because the Kia driver is going to have a pretty hard time trying to explain what happened. Fortunately, the driver who went flying into the sky survived, despite the violent and extreme crash. The video is proof enough that no matter how safe of a driver you are, Accidents can happen at any point and at any time. Number 11. Truck versus pole. Speaking of wheels, semis have one too many of them. 18 to be exact. These are needed to support the massive weight of anything that they carry in the back, so drivers have to be extra careful when handling these vehicles. From the videos you've seen up until now, not many people are listening to the driving carefully bit, but this man was just a little too careful when trying to make a turn. The truck was trying to complete a turnaround, but failed tremendously. There was one safety bollard that had made a new enemy that day, and it was the man who was trying to get past it. Eventually, it was caught beneath a container and blocked its back wheels, and the video now unrolls like the scene out of a comedy skit. He didn't care that there was a bollard stuck in his truck and continued to drive like it was nothing. What happens when too much pressure is applied? Well, 4 wheels pop off. But it gets even stranger. It's like the driver wanted to get those pesky wheels off the back, because even when some of the damage was fixable, he just kept on going. All that's left to say is a round of applause for the contractor who put that safety pole there. It held its ground and won the battle against the truck that day. Number 10. Ford Fiesta slams into 29-ton truck. In the streets of East Yorkshire countryside, police officers were in a high-speed chase to catch a 19-year-old driving his parents' Ford Fiesta. The joyride could have cost lives because he was recklessly going over 100 miles an hour. Suddenly, he swerved in the wrong direction, which was the result of losing control, and rammed himself into the back of a truck, sending it crashing down because of lost tires.
Series RTC, get the closure. Hey, Barnaby top closed. Get an ambulance, please.
The Fiesta spinning around and having a Fiesta of its own behind the truck, only for it to ricochet off the police car. The innocent drivers, being the ones in the truck and the cars, had suffered minor injuries, and the 19-year-old, on the other hand, was in a coma for 4 days. He's now banned from driving for 2 years and will have to take an extended driver's test in order to renew his license. This mess gathered a lot of attention from people who thought that he was let off too easily. Apart from the very light punishment of a 2-year ban, the most surprising part is that the 19-year-old had managed to make a Ford Fiesta go that fast. Number 9. Incredibly failed parking. Before you watch this, you should know that there is a lot to unpack. There are 2 Piggly Wiggly trucks parked and driverless in a parking lot. A third truck has to squeeze in between them for a comfortable place to park. And looking how the driver enters the area is a little bit aggressive. It looks as though he doesn't care whatsoever about the damage being done to his own vehicle or the other 2 beside him. For some reason, the back door is open, giving space for everything inside to tip over. Now, don't expect any devastating crashes because it's just a driver who's failing miserably at reverse parking between 2 trucks, as if he made sure to hit every fraction of the area, including the camera recording the whole thing. It looks like this Piggly Wiggly is getting sent home the first thing in the morning. Number 8. Crashing into a safety zone. This is a pretty cool thing to see on the road. These runaway truck ramps are a sort of traffic device which allows vehicles with faulty brakes to stop safely. The ramp is a long, sandy, gravel-filled lane that goes downhill in another section of a main road. Think of it like a safety net for trucks that can't stop. What's interesting to see here is a bunch of trucks that quickly crash into this pit. It looks like a lot of damage is being done, and the driver might get hurt, but it's a pretty safe thing to use in case of emergencies. The more that you watch these clips, seeing a truck lose all the load it's carrying and having gravel and sand flying everywhere, it's more satisfying. But there is one question that people have. Imagine you're panicking because your brakes aren't working on a busy highway and you see one of these truck ramps on the right.
Quítese de aquí, quítate, abre el camino, abre el camino.
What happens if there's a truck already in there? Does a massive sandy crash take place? Number 7. This truck is too tall for the ride. In 2015, about 6 trucks would crash at the East Street Low Bridge in the town of Westwood, Massachusetts. You're never going to expect how things roll out for this driver. To think that the upper part of the trailer will get sliced in half like in the movies, or the whole thing will slide off and affect the cars in the back. It shatters into 100 pieces, tipping the driver and the entire vehicle over. A lesson learned by the driver: never underestimate the height of the truck. A second lesson: a collision like this can be lethal and should definitely not be taken lightly. Just watching the video and seeing what actually happens in such a collision is insane to say the least. He really was too tall for the ride. Number 6. Semi crushes a car beneath its wheels. A lot is going on at this exit in Belgium, so it's hard to point out which poor driver is going to need to pay thousands of dollars in repairs and medical bills. Now, this blue hatchback seemed to want to go from one side of the road to another, either to get to the exit or to overtake the traffic. But what she doesn't know is that there's a white semi-truck waiting for her to collide right after she passes the trailer. She then crashes into the truck with the dash cam, and let's just say it looks like a very lethal accident. But no worries, somehow she survived. And even though she suffered injuries, the way that she crashes into not one but 2 large vehicles is a scary sight. Look at the damage the first impact did. Who knows what the state of the car is after a driver ran over her car, leaving her behind. Number 5. Is it the police's fault? This Ohio State Highway Patrol footage shows an unfortunate ending for an SUV that was stopped by a police officer.
How many words to say, Mom?
This white SUV stops dead in the middle of the highway at night, and what happens after? A semi crashes into the vehicle and takes it off the road. If a car stops on a dark highway, with the super bright police lights making it a blind spot for incoming drivers, what is supposed to happen? If the SUV is parked on the right in front of the police officer, it may have been avoided, and if the truck driver had been a little mindful of their speed, it could have also been a different story. In the end, nobody can really point any fingers, but let this be known: never stop in the middle of the highway at night. Number 4. Truck fighting against the wind. An Amazon Prime delivery truck driver struggling to keep the wheel straight on Interstate 25 near the Colorado-Wyoming border. As you can see, the wind is so strong, it's not allowing the truck to move as smoothly as it's supposed to. Eventually, it's rotated completely at an angle of 90 degrees and then taken off-road. Trucks driving in extreme weather are always a hazard for the vehicles surrounding them, so it's best to sit this one out if the forecast isn't ideal. Because of this incident, the Department of Transportation had to shut down the lanes of Interstate 25, and the winds on that day were up to 50 to 80 miles per hour. Number 3. Stronger wind tips over a semi. Unlike the Amazon Prime delivery truck in Colorado, the winds in Alberta had different plans for this semi. Footage points out that despite these unfavorable weather conditions,
Oh boy, oh, he's right off the ground. Here we go.
the driver never did the smart thing and parked his truck on the side. Waiting for the weather to get better is always a much better option than waiting for disaster to strike. The entire semi ends up tipping over, causing a massive accident. Tires screeching and debris flying. It's a classic accident on the motorway.
Oh boy, here we go, here we go.
That could have easily been avoided. Number 2. Extreme pileup in upstate New York. Unlike the previous videos, this dashcam footage starts midway, when the accident has already begun.
The fiery rescue on the highway in New York, strangers running from their vehicles towards a burning car, reaching into the flames to save a woman trapped inside.
A red truck plows through a series of cars, which then leads to a massive pileup. One of those cars was even set on fire after having crossed the motorway divider. It's a miracle how nobody was severely hurt, because that truck slamming into the gray car looked more than just lethal. Number 1. Explosive end in Toronto. On a highway, a fuel tanker is one of the few vehicles that you need to avoid at all costs. Those things are too dangerous to drive close to because they carry stuff that could cause a fiery mess. Since this is the #1 video, you just know it doesn't have a happy ending. The tanker on the right loses control and begins turning left quite quickly, almost as if it's about to swerve and tip over. And before the video continues, think of how a regular impact or collision would leave a semi-truck. Just a little bit of damage, right? This tanker, carrying a flammable liquid, explodes completely, leaving a pool of fire spreading throughout the road and leaving cars quickly driving away to safety. The aftermath is nothing but a big black cloud of complete terror, a sight that no one would ever want to come across in their lives. Watching these trucks drop their loads is a scary sight on video, but just imagine how you'd react if you saw it in real life. Remember to always drive responsibly and learn the lessons that this video has taught you. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you like the video to see more content in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.